Hey there, did you know that Music Marketing Monday is now of legal drinking age? That's right, this is episode 21, and in this one we're going to delve into how to ruin your music career. That's right, we're going to talk about the don'ts of the music business, selling merch and other stuff, and of course, how you can turn that around and do it better. That's what's in store for you. Stay tuned.
Information, inspiration, motivation for the modern musicpreneur.
Time to start your week right.
Here it comes, Music Marketing Monday, with your host, Bob Baker,
Mr. Buzz Factor,
and Billy Gryzak.
the music marketing mind.
Ready? Are you sure?
Set.
Here it comes. Swing, baby.
Thank you for hitting play. Thank you for downloading. Thank you so much for being here today. But if you don't want to find out what you might be doing wrong, turn this show off now. Delete it, erase it, put it in the recycle bin. But if you're the kind of person that enjoys finding out how to really succeed, keep listening. Hey, this is Billy Gryzak, the music marketing mind, and I'm here with
Bob Baker, Mr. Buzz Factor, Mr. Guerrilla Music Marketing, and many other labels that of your choosing.
Yeah, man, you are just like the Sybil of music marketing, aren't you?
And other stuff, and other creative things too. I mean,
That's right, man. That's right. Art and book authoring and comedy and improv and acting and
that's right, man. Don't paint me into a music marketing corner. That limits me, you know. I'm a Renaissance dude. You know?
Yes, you are. You know, you look really good in your beret and your little
My little mustache and all that.
There you go.
But I bet you most of our listeners are that way too. If you really asked if we were able to talk to them, and hopefully we will through Twitter and all that stuff. I bet you a lot of them have very creative interests too. I bet you there's some writers and some painters and maybe actors out there in addition to being musicians. You know,
Absolutely.
It's all creative, man.
But today I am actually hoping that we can help the musicians specifically. But hey, you know, as you always say, this stuff transcends and goes in all directions. So we do welcome all of the artists, the painters, the writers, and everyone else. But anyway, I have recently spent about 2 weeks doing something that I don't normally do. And what that is instead of just performing, which is, takes up a great deal of my time in the summer, like I do about 80% of all my gigging for the year happens in the summer months, okay? But I spend a great deal of time actually going out and seeing other bands, which, I'm so busy playing all the time, I never get to see other bands. And I got to tell you, folks, I highly recommend that you do that. I think it's, now that I've done it this year, I think it's really important, a great way to kind of look in the mirror, see what other people are doing, and kind of A/B where you are and everything like that. What do you think about that, Bob?
Oh yeah, it's definitely to observe. I mean, it's just good to get out, whether it's locally or when you're visiting another city or when you're on tour. And I guess you did this during your festival gigs. Went to other stages, I assume. And
Yeah. Actually, I had quite an eye-opening experience. As you may know, if you've been following the show, my group has been playing at Summerfest, which is the world's largest music festival, and they mean it. I mean, there's like 800 and some bands play over a 2-week period, and it ranges the gamut from your typical singer-songwriter busking, working for tips down the strip, all the way up to big giant headliners like the Dave Matthews Band and Joan Jett and everyone in between. So I had a chance to see it all, and I have some shocking observations for everyone. So
that's right. And so if you're interested in actually taking your career down a notch, we're gonna write down these worst practices, and you will be assured of obscurity and frustration. But if you do the opposite of some of the things that Billy has found in his horrifying discoveries, this is cool. So yeah, I think observing what other people are doing. You don't want to be like. I mean, I don't condone people like being judgmental and putting down other acts and like, oh, we're playing better than them. I think that actually doesn't serve you well when you cut down other people. But in your observations, you can say, oh, I like the way that they promoted that, or I like the way their merch table is set up, and you can borrow those ideas for your own purposes, and then you discard the things that horrify you.
Absolutely.
And maybe even you shared some best practices with these people that you ran into, to help them. But
I did, and my son did also. My son is my drummer, and he hasn't quite learned how to be as tactful as I am.
Diplomatic.
And so the funny thing is, I am now actually the one that has restraint, and I actually care about people's feelings. But my son, he'll just walk up to people and say, "You know what you're doing wrong."
You want to know what sucks?
Exactly. So we got to work on that. But anyway,
let's start notching these off. Yeah. What are some of the things you saw? And I guess we could follow up each worst practice with how to do it better. But,
okay. Yeah, that's actually great. Yeah. What I'll do is we'll play good cop, bad cop. I'll be the bad cop. You be the good cop.
Okay.
Because honestly, I'm just mortified, horrified, astonished, amazed at the things I saw. And we're going to start off with the one that everybody was guilty of, with the exception of maybe one or two groups and a couple of headliners. I walked around the festival, and again, they have like 12 stages, lots of bands playing, and every group that I saw, I had no idea who they were. I mean, no clue whatsoever, okay? They didn't have a sign up on stage. They didn't mention the name of their band most of the time. Nobody wore a T-shirt, anything like that. And then I checked this out just to make sure it wasn't me. Now, this is really incredible. I would walk around the audience because I was really getting into this. And I would just stop people that were sitting there grooving to the band and say, "Hey, that band's really good. Do you know who they are?" "Oh, no, man, I have no idea."
Wow, yeah.
Think about this. All these bands are out there working really hard, trying to get known, trying to get followers, and nobody knew who they were. I would go right up to the side, go to the security people. I even went back by the, not the merch table, but, what is it? Oh, like some of the stages had sponsors. Like one of them had a cell phone company, was a sponsor, major cell phone company. And they were trying to get people over to their booth to take pictures that they put online. And I walked up to them, and they're sponsoring the stage. I said, "That band's really good. Who are they?" "Oh, I have no idea. I don't know the name of that band. Nope, I don't know who they are."
That's not good at all.
This is very bad, guys. This is as bad as it gets.
So imagine one of those people later, telling their friends, "Hey, I went to Summerfest. Man, I heard this great R&B band or whatever." "Oh, really? Cool. Who are they?" "Man, I have no idea. I should go out and see them. I'd like to, but I don't know what to search for." I mean, what a lost opportunity.
I know. So the main thing is, you got to do something to let people know who you are. Otherwise, why do you even bother showing up, honestly, okay? Now, I will say this. There were some bands that actually maybe said who they were once or twice. But they said it like this, and this is not a joke. In fact, this goes beyond Summerfest. I've seen this in clubs. I've seen it in concerts. I've seen it with opening acts that are opening for headliners, like at big shows, and I still don't know who they are, and they would say this. Are you ready? This is what it sounds like.
I'm ready.
Okay. "All right, everybody, thank you. Don't forget, we are... Check us out on Facebook."
Check us out at FluidSRub.com.
Yeah, the name of our band is Sam, and you can look us up on Google and Facebook.
Check us out on MySpace.
Oh, my gosh. So the point I'm trying to make is whenever I do anything on stage myself personally, and this is my recommendation. I know we're doing good cop, bad cop. You're supposed to be the good cop, but I do have a recommendation. Make sure you say the name of your band in such a way that we can understand it. Don't go, "This is the name of my band. Everybody say thank you very much."
Right. And there's a combination of things that happen there. Your adrenaline's going from a gig anyway. There's probably something in the back of your head going, "Oh, don't act like you're promoting too much. Just get through this quickly and then move on." But you got to remember, your mic, if you're the lead singer, probably has reverb on it. Sound is bouncing all over the fairgrounds or the club or the walls or whatever. So you got to slow down and enunciate when you say these things, right?
Exactly. So to the most of the bands I saw, I probably caught like 50, 60 bands over the week. I have no idea who you are, and it's sad because I would really like to. There's many of those bands that I thought were very good, and I actually would like to follow or tell people about, and I just can't because I don't know who they are. So that's sad. Okay, now.
So the another solution is the banner, which I know we talked about during our 3 or 4 episode festival thing. So a banner would do that, and then mentioning your bands. And this is something I always recommend is whenever you perform songs that are available as free downloads from your website, to mention you can download that song for free from Say It Again, write that down, put it in your phone now. You want to do that, but you're not just you're just not mentioning your name, but you're actually offering them something and asking them to do something,
right?
And that's a real clear way to get the name and the website out there clearly.
Now, out of all the bands I saw, now I'm going to call a couple bands out here because one band, one actually put up a little stand-up sign on stage, because I don't think you're allowed to hang banners when you're like the daytime acts, the opening acts, because usually they have the name of the stage behind it or the sponsors.
Right.
But you get these little stand-up signs like I use. They're like upside down blinds. They stand up.
Oh yeah.
And the one band I remember, and I'm going to give them a shout out right now, was called Picture Yes. Picture Yes. And they had their little sign right up there by their drummer, Picture Yes. And I can tell people, I saw 50 bands, but I remember Picture Yes. We should probably check them out. They were really good.
Cool. I guess the age-old thing is if you can do it, just put the name of the band on the bass drum head. And that's been done.
Yeah,
the Monkees and the Beatles and all that.
People don't do that so much anymore, and I think that's a missed opportunity. And then the other one is then there was another band I saw, and I don't know if anybody ever saw a show called Rockstar in Excess. But I accidentally caught a band called the Love Hammers. I think that's what they were called. See, there you go. I think that's what they were called. And I accidentally caught their act, and they were amazing, and the front man was amazing. And as it turns out, it was the runner-up from Rockstar in Excess, Marty Casey, who I love. I had no idea he was in a band. And they put up a banner, but all they put was their initials, LH, which I guess is cool. It's your logo. And I will say that he made a really big deal of saying they were the Love Hammers. So, yeah, I do remember them. And because he was such a great frontman, he spoke in a way that you could understand what he said. So I was pretty pleased with that,
Cool.
So that was pretty cool, too. But, again, when you're at these festivals, these are opening up, if you're not the band people are going to see, you got to make sure people know who you are, because people, even when you tell them your name, like with the Love Hammers right there, even if you say the name, you might not remember it. I was a little fuzzy on it. You know what I'm saying? So a visual's always better.
Awesome. Yeah, combine the verbal and you hit them with multi-senses, so the sight and sound, and it'll and repeat it, because the people that are listening at the first time you mention it, or a different group of people that maybe will be there are paying attention at that time when you repeat it later in the set. So absolutely good stuff, Billy.
Thank you.
Let's dig out some more crap.
Thank you.
What other horror stories?
This is as shocking as it gets.
Oh my God.
Okay. Now, during a band set, there was one stage in particular that was called the up-and-coming artist, I think, or the emerging artist stage. And this is where, like, over the years, in the past, they had bands like Imagine Dragons, like bands that have gone on to become pretty famous, played on this stage. So I went to that stage, and I do know the name of the band. I don't know if I want to recognize them or not, because I don't necessarily have such great things to say about some of the stuff they did, so maybe I won't. But it started out by me saying, wow, that band sounds really good, and I walked around. Nobody knew the name of the band. They never said the name of their band, I guess, till the end. But they have a place where all the bands get to put their merchandise. So that's like the sanctioned merch table. It's like a merch tent. It says tour shirts. And at this particular festival, every stage has a tent that says tour shirts, okay? Now, I don't know about you, but I usually don't wait till the end of the show to go get T-shirts if I want, or merchandise or CDs. I usually go during the show, or sometimes I'll go before the show to get it. That's just the way I am. So, during the show, the band is up playing. They're into their third or fourth song. I went to the merch table, And guess what?
They didn't have anything there.
Nothing.
Horrors of horrors.
Not one thing. And then I went back a little later, and there was like 2 T-shirts hung up in the back and some boxes on a table. So apparently, they were taking their good old time to get the stuff out because they were waiting for the end of the show. Then I went back again the third time, and this is what really got me the most. They had a dude, and actually it was marketed pretty well because their thing was they wore suits and ties, this particular band, on stage. And the guy they had back there selling their merch was wearing a suit and a tie, which I thought was really good branding. I liked that.
Oh, yeah.
Right, and they had the T-shirts out, and then they had a nice little thing set up on the table, and it had their LP, their vinyl LP, their CDs. It had some 2 or 3 T-shirts, and then they had a sign-up sheet sitting on the table, like a pen and pencil, right? So I'm standing there, and he's talking to this other lady about something, and I'm just kind of standing looking at the stuff, and he's talking to this lady, and there was only 2 people there. It wasn't like they were all rushing the merch table. And I was standing there. Finally, I put my name down on the sign-up sheet, and I actually in the comments said, I would love to have you on my podcast. Right? I gave my email address and said, I'd love to have you on my podcast. And then the lady walked away, and then I kind of stood there for another 30 seconds, and the guy just kind of stood there. And then I walked away.
Wow.
Now, what can you glean from that experience, Bob?
He didn't engage you. He didn't even acknowledge, I guess, that you were there the whole time?
Right.
Really? Oh, wow. That's not good, and for all sorts of reasons. The idea is to communicate and connect with people. Now, this guy wasn't in the band, but he was dressed like the band members,
So
right?
I'm assuming that he was not one of the typical people they provide from the festival, so he was traveling with the band and obviously has a vested interest in the band since he wears the darn suit.
Yeah, so you would think if he's part of the entourage that he would be eager to talk to people and promote and not pass up opportunities to make a sale, but obviously he did with you, so something went wrong there.
Absolutely. Now, I went around to other all of the other tour merchandise booths they had set up around the event, and this wasn't an isolated incident. There was at least 3 other stages where while the band was playing, they either had absolutely nothing in the merch booth or they had their boxes in the merch booth. And that, again, is not great because, some people like to go to the merch booth while the band's playing. You know what I mean? So something to consider. And also a takeaway from the big acts. All of the headliners that were there that day, and they're sharing the same stages with these people, they had their merchandise out right from the beginning of the festival, even though that band did not go on until 10 o'clock at night.
Smart.
So, we saw the Pentatonics. Pentatonics had all their merch out from 12 o'clock in the afternoon until till 12 midnight. And, by the way, something I always say, you should have at least one person in your band wearing your gear. I always say that, wear your own shirts. A lot of people don't like it, but in the Pentatonics, the beatboxer was wearing a Pentatonics hat, and one of the members of the band was wearing a Pentatonic shirt. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, and it's a great idea. And the whole thing about, and this is an unusual situation, if I can get that out, where you'd have a merch table and multiple acts, festivals and other multi-band things. But by having your stuff there early and throughout the day, you get exposure to the hardcore fans of the other bands, because there's the ones that are coming up earlier and buying the T-shirts of the bands that are on earlier and the artists that are on earlier before you, and they will probably at least see your logo. And if they hear about you later, they may not even remember where they saw it, but they'll go, I think I've heard of those guys, and that's like the first layer of getting in, sinking into their brains,
Absolutely. So these are like some of the, just some, and I do mean just some, of the missed opportunities. Now, I would like to talk about a band, and I don't know if I should name them again or not. I probably shouldn't. But there was a group playing on one of the side stages. Now, the way Summerfest is set up, they have main stages where they have national acts and regional acts. Then they have a couple of smaller stages where they have like just basically locals. Then they have a strip of stages that's just like volunteer tips only, okay? Mm-hmm. And I ran across this one band that's trying to be like a I'm looking at their picture here, and I'm trying to decide what you would call them. Kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons, kind of a gothic Hobbit, that whole genre, right? Game of Thrones, right?
Right.
And they're dressed up like, one guy here's like a knight, the other guy's like a thief, the other guy's like what the woman looks like an elf. They look incredible, all right? Now, they did a lot of work on looking great, and they managed to generate a big crowd to watch them just because of the way they looked. But I must say, their sound wasn't great, which is okay because, you don't have to sound great as long as people are digging what you're doing, in my opinion. But they did a couple songs, for instance, where the guitar player didn't know the song, and he was up there going, well, I don't know why they played that song. I haven't played it in 3 months, and I'm sorry because we shouldn't do that song. And it was weird. But that isn't even the thing. They had this great crowd, and they had people working the audience. They had people dressed up in these medieval clothes, walking around, handing out cards, and selling CDs. But check this out, Bob, and this is what I want to talk about. I'm holding in my hand their business card. It has a picture of the 4 people in the band, and again, it looks like it could be for a TV show about the Game of Thrones or something. Has the name of the band under it, and you know what it says underneath that?
What?
It says, "Look us up on Google and Facebook." That's the whole card.
That's the whole card.
Has a picture of this band, which you don't even know if they're a band. Has their name, which is spelled really weird.
Probably some hard-to-read font or something.
Well, no, it's actually, I'll give them credit. You can read the font, but it's spelled so weird that yesterday when I was between gigs, just for fun, I decided I would look this band up on Google, but I didn't have the card, and I kept trying to spell their name, and I kept getting different things.
You're wrong.
Yeah, and then I found their card, but there's no phone number. There's no actual Facebook address. There's no website. There's no nothing. In fact, there's nothing that even says we're a band. And I'd like you to comment on that, Bob.
Yeah, I guess their thinking is, we're going to go the mysterious route and we're going to make them take some action to find. But I always think it's best to err on the side of making it easy for people. People are so distracted, and it's so hard to get people's attention and get them to do anything to begin with, that anytime you set up a hurdle, you're just lowering the percentage of people who are going to engage with you. And so, yeah, I don't think they really did themselves any favors with that, no matter what the thinking was behind it.
Absolutely. And then the other thing about getting back to the merch booths is there were a lot of people that had their merch out. It was run by the festival people. And again, the festival people aren't really there to sell. They're just kind of there to count the numbers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So where most of your fan engagement and winning fans over could have happened at the merch booth, it just fell flat on its face. Okay, right there. Now, I want to tell you another quick story. I saw another act, Richie Ramone. Now, does Ramone sound familiar?
It sure does.
Well, Richie Ramone was a drummer from the Ramones, and he was the opening act for Joan Jett. Oh. This guy has been around forever. He is in the Hall of Fame. He is like, the Beatles of punk music. He's the Ringo Starr of punk music, okay? Which, by the way, he was fantastic. Totally blew me away. One of the best acts I saw at Summerfest. Now, as soon as he got done, this big star, famous legend, you know what he did?
What?
He walked out to the merch booth and just stood there with the bass player and shook people's hands and talked to everybody.
How cool.
Come on, man. And merchandise was flying off the table. People were grabbing stuff because he was signing, talking, shaking hands, taking selfies. And it was just absolutely amazing. And now I'd like to make a, what's the word I'm looking for? Confession.
Uh-oh.
Of something I did where I did not walk the walk that I talk. And I'm going to confess to everyone now, and I feel horrible. But I hope that this will be one of those horrible things that someone did, and it was done by me.
Yes, bless you, Billy, for you have sinned.
I have, and I want everybody to learn from this, okay? So here I am. I'm going to the restroom, and I noticed that Richie Ramone just got off stage. Nobody noticed he was standing there by the merch booth. So being Billy Gryzak, the music marketing mind, what do? I walk right up to him, stick out my hand, and say, I just wanted to shake your hand and say thank you very much for being here. I had no idea you had a new album out, and you guys were awesome. And he looks at me and goes, yeah, I don't think a lot of people know we have a new album out. And I said, wow. Well, I'll tell you, man, your new album's great. Your show's great. And I'm going to make sure I tell people about it on my podcast. And he looks at me and goes, you got a podcast? I'm like, yeah. He goes, he says, you have a podcast? I said, yeah. He says, wow. He says, and I said, I'm going to promote you in the fall when I start my other show up again. And he goes, wow, you got a card? Maybe I could be on your show. Richie Ramone was asking me to be on my show. And he asked me for my business card. And guess who didn't have a business card?
You, sir.
Dude, I am not worthy anymore. I am just... And the thing was, he started to turn around to look for a pen or something to write my name down and my number. Richie Ramone wanted to connect with me. And then, like, 5 people jumped in there of T-shirts and CDs, and that was the end of that.
Wow.
Unbelievable. So, not only do you need to make sure you have a card, but make sure it has some pertinent information, just not look us up on Google and Facebook.
Yeah, exactly. The Game of Thrones.
Totally, man.
So let's, do you think we have enough for a second episode? Is there more merch do's and don'ts?
No, I think I'm going to wrap it up with one more thing here, and then we'll move on to a new topic. And by the way, we are opening up the topic for next week to viewer suggestions.
Listener,
and viewer. That's right, listener.
You can stare at the logo if you want, but
yeah. Don't forget to look us up on Google and Facebook while you're at it. Oh! I have two things. Okay, 2 things. Then, on the other hand, I want to tell you about this band, and I got to give them a shout out. They were called Halocene, 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 and Halocene.com. And they had they were on the smallest of the stages. It was all volunteer, all tips, and this band, it was a female lead singer and 4 guys, blew it out, killed it, destroyed it. Maybe the best performers I saw in all of Summerfest, including all the headliners. And they were just in a little tent, and they killed it. And I'm going to tell you something. If this band keeps doing what they're doing with the energy and the passion they have, you're going to be hearing a lot about this band. And I usually don't get excited about groups like this, but they were amazing. And they had the group wrapped. They were interactive. They just kept drawing people in, and then they all ran over to the merch booth afterwards. And even if you didn't buy something, they gave everybody these little stickers, and that's what I'm holding in my hand right now. And it says, "Make It Loud," www.halocene.com. And they were shaking hands, doing selfies. I mean, those people were winning fans. Their mailing list, people were fighting each other to get on the mailing list. It just goes to show you. It's about the performance, and they said their name a lot. And they were right there at the merch booth, and I mean, they did everything right.
How cool.
Yeah.
And they were and they didn't have the advantage of having the big stage and being a main headliner or whatever. It's all about like making the most of the resources that you have to work with. It's not so many people make excuses. Oh, if only I was this, or sure, they got it, they did well because of this. But it sounds like they just made the best of what they had to work with.
Yeah, and they weren't even a local band. Apparently, they're from like Phoenix or something, and they drove all the way to Milwaukee to play for free.
Wow, how cool.
How cool. And I got to tell you, everybody check them out. They're really great. I'm going to try to have them on my Making Money, Making Music podcast in the fall. So we'll see how that goes. And then I'm going to leave you with this last one, which I was blown away. Usually you think of social media as being a young person's game, something that the younger people are into, whatever. But the winner of the social media award and best merch table goes to a band you may have heard of from the 1980s called Berlin.
Oh, yeah.
We saw Berlin. Not only were they fantastic, but their merch table, they covered the table with a tablecloth. And the tablecloth had silk screened on it. Ready for this?
I give up.
All of their social media icons and addresses were on the front of the tablecloth.
Nice.
Beautiful. Now, I have pictures of everything I talked about today, and I'm going to post them somewhere. So what I'll do is when the show's ready to go up, I'll give you either a web address or a link or something, or you can put it in your show notes because I know it's linkable in your show notes.
Yeah.
Or I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah,
and,
let's post them on the podcast episode page too.
Yeah, exactly. So because I took pictures of all this stuff, so there you go. Those are my observations of things, to do, not to do. Where in a situation where there's a lot of bands out there that are spending a lot of time, spending a lot of money, spending, doing everything they can to get gigs, to get known, to get fans, to sell merch, to sell T-shirts, and either blowing it horribly or doing it fantastically.
That's right. And hopefully by showing you the both sides of the fence, giving you some ideas on how you can up your game in the music biz. I just want to add really one quick thing. When we were talking about the guy who was in the suit at the merch table who ignored you, he really didn't follow up with a best practice.
Yes.
And I was just going to say, if you're either, whether it's the band or somebody else or a helper, whatever, you're getting swamped and you don't have like enough. Well, first of all, try to get as many people back there to handle if you do get a rush. And usually it is after a set or after a gig or whatever, that people will tend to be over there more than others. You got to find a balance between, on one hand, you want to be able to acknowledge and spend time with the people that have taken the time to go over there, especially those who are buying stuff. You want to engage with them, but at the same time, don't leave people in line hanging. So try to do your best to focus on one person at a time. Look them in the eye. Don't be distracted by looking over their shoulder or whatever. But if there's a lot of people waiting, keep it short and just apologize instead of saying, I got to go now. Just say, hey, can we finish this conversation later? Or I would love to talk to you more, but there's some people in line here I need to deal with here. But so find that balance between focusing on them, giving them a little bit of quality time, but then cutting it off and going on to the people that are still waiting. And that's a tough balancing act sometime in the heat of the battle, but you can be done.
Absolutely. And if you are not a solo artist and you have, 3, 4, 5 people, I really do believe that everyone should be out there helping out, working, shaking hands, doing whatever it is you can do to win those fans over. But remember, let's go back to number one. Make sure people know who you are. Oh, sorry, Bob. One last thing, because there is one band that had no sign. They had, but there's one band I'll always remember their name. I've never heard of them before. There's a band, and let me tell you what they did, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. But this was incredible. Little tiny band that was up on stage right before the Fray, and the Fray is huge, big, giant. Thousands of people went to see them. This band goes up there, and they did this little shtick. They said, okay, we're going to do this song now, and whenever I say, oh, everybody shout, honey. And then, so he goes, oh, and then, several hundred people go, honey, oh, honey, oh, honey. And he goes, and at the end of the show says, don't forget the name of our band is Oh Honey.
Oh, sweet.
And just like honey. Yeah. And I will never forget the name of their band as long as I live, because they made the name of their band a shtick. They made it a moment in the show. And see what you can take away from that, folks, because that band was freaking brilliant.
Yeah. I can see another band going, okay, I'm going to shout out, look us up. And you say, on Google and Facebook. Look us up on Google and Facebook. All right. That's not the name of our band, but you figure it out on your own.
Don't forget, man, the name of our band is...
Yeah, make sure and look up on Google and Facebook.
All right, Bob. Well, let's see. We were going to go for 20 minutes. We're up to like 32 minutes. That's good. It's good for us.
Yeah, we are. We're under time.
And and as I understand it, we're taking a week off tomorrow. Not tomorrow. We're taking next week off. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it probably would be. I'm going to be traveling in Nashville, visiting friends, and so it'd probably be easier. Just summer vacation. We'll just take 1 week off and then be back the following week with more fun and frivolity and good stuff.
Great, and we are looking to take your suggestions for future episodes. So, what we'd like you to do is on Twitter, go to hashtag musicmm. That's £, or hashtag musicmm. Or you can hit me up at Music Market Mind on Facebook. I am Bob. Where do we find you?
Well, Mr. Buzz Factor on Twitter, Mr. Buzz Factor. You can also go to thebuzzfactor.com. Don't forget thebuzzfactor.com. You can find the archives of this podcast. Also, click the link for Music Marketing Secrets. I actually have 3 special reports and a whole bunch of goodies that I give away for free that anyone wants to sign up for them. And I also follow up with updates on the latest episodes and other stuff that I'm posting on my website. Would love to connect with folks in that way as well.
Great. And everybody else out there, you could just send me money.
Yes. Donate to the cause.
All right, Bob. I think we're done here.
Yes, have a great couple of weeks, folks, and let us know what you think of this episode, and we'll talk to you down the line.
Sounds great, man. I'm blah, blah, blah.
And I'm blah, 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 blah. Look us up on
Facebook
and Google it. So long for now, folks.
Don't forget MySpace.
Yeah, and mp3.com.
Hey everybody, this is Billy Gryzak, the Music Marketing Mind, and I want to remind you to visit hostbaby.com. Web hosting for musicians. Go there now for your free 30-day trial, but don't tell anybody. It'll be our secret. Shh.